Meanwhile, Eskom says parts of Cape Agulhas and Mossel Bay in the Western Cape have been left without electricity due to damage to its infrastructure as veldfires rage on. Firefighters are currently attempting to contain the blazes in the affected areas. The power utility states that technicians are on site assessing the damage, but no estimated time for restoration has been confirmed. Eskom urges affected customers to remain patient and to use the available channels to log a fault. Now, for more, we are joined by Dr Imtiaz Sooliman of the Gift of the Givers. A very good evening to you, Dr Sooliman. Thank you so much for your time. We do know it is that season, it is fire season, but it just seems to be raging on a little bit extra this year. Tell us about what you're seeing on the ground.
Good evening, Massa. Yes, there's a lot of fires. Since the time of 19th of December, we've been putting fires out all over Cape Town and other parts of the country. You know, there's been Kailicha, there's been Mossel Bay, there's been Koha now, Dunun, and other fires, many of them in Philippines, and many other informal settlements. We've been very, very busy since around the 19th of December. Coming to Koha, where my team's on the ground directly right now, we were called yesterday by the Koha municipality, and they said the urgency is to get a helicopter because they can't reach all areas of the fire. The wind is too strong. The area is too extensive, running over 20 kilometers. There's not enough firefighters, and even if there were, it wasn't safe for them to go in. It was too risky. There's not enough equipment. So we sent in our own water truck, and we sent in an advanced team yesterday. Of course, getting helicopters was a challenge yesterday, simply because of all the fires happening everywhere. In Mossel Bay, in Overstrand area, in Elam, and now in Dunun. But at this morning at 8 o'clock, the helicopter arrived, a big one, a plane actually, that has a 2,000-liter capacity, to put fires out. It was great. In terms of yesterday, the wind was very strong. Overnight, my teams worked the whole night. None of them slept. And they said this morning it was calm, the wind was settled, it was much easy. Some fires had settled down, and everybody was hopeful. But later on in the day, the fire picked up again. And while some fires had died, many new ones had started and had gone to areas where nobody could reach. And again, the crisis started all over. A second helicopter needed to be brought in, which has come in later this evening and will work tomorrow morning. One of the two of good news, in the whole process, or three. One is, fortunately, only about 5 houses have been affected and 1 or 2 cars. And late in the day, a place called Poultry Farm was about to burn, and the plane just dropped water right across that farm. And further from that, another farm, the farmer came out with a, over enthusiastic voice note telling the pilot, thank you very much. You saved his house with the water from the plane. So there has been good stories. All credit to the firefighters, the emergency personnel, the RTI, the SAPS guys who've been doing a phenomenal job. But yes, the fires are big in Koha. They're extremely huge in Dunun. It's wiped out a massive area, huge in Elam, and they have been huge in Mossel Bay. All areas are not settled yet. The struggle is going on. It's not settled, but it's positive.
And thanks for also just sharing some good news when it comes to the story, because it really has been quite bleak of a time. Even though we do know that it is fire season, it doesn't actually make it immune of how devastating these fires can be, especially for those living in those areas. Dr. Sooliman, you also mentioned the 2 helicopters that you've gotten in, which are great interventions with these water bomb helicopters. Are there any other interventions that are possibly coming on the cards?
Well, we have to take each fire in its own merit. Let's go to Koha. And by the way, sorry, there's another 16 fires in Tabeja also affected in a big way. We have teams assisting there. So in terms of the assistance, in Koha, most important is a plane with a big water carrying capacity. The second helicopter is not mine. We were making arrangements to bring another 2 helicopters, but disaster management managed to get one from George, so it's not necessary to over-resource. It's fine. The firefighters, we're a little short of them, but the helicopters are compensating for that. In terms of support, our water tanker is placed at the airport. The initial airport it was placed was at St. Francis Bay. The plane took off from there, and our water tanker filled the plane every time it came. And 2 other water tankers replenished our water tanker, taking water from 2 kilometers away, so we can have quick turnaround times. We then, after in that area, we moved to what's the name, Jeffreys Bay, and the Skydivers Association gave us airstrip space. We thank them. And in that area, of course, instead of getting one flight in a short space of time, we did 3 at a time because, we were very close to loading the plane with water. So the water replenishment was the first thing, supporting the firefighters with water, energy drinks, energy biscuits, food, those kind of items, lip balm, lip ice. That was the second support. Thirdly, supporting members who evacuated. Not that many. There's nowhere compared to an informal settlement like what's happened in Dunoon. Tonight in Dunoon, we're feeding 2,500 people. In the whole area of Kucha, only 45 people came to an evacuation center. We're taking care of them, but the community themselves take care of themselves. Not much issue there. And then, of course, when the other 3 things that happened yesterday, the roads were not passable. They open, they close, they open, they close. Secondly, all the substations, electrical substations were knocked out. So it was total darkness. And thirdly, because of no electricity, the dam shut down. Both Churchill and Mpofu Dam shut down. The pumps couldn't pump, so there was no water. Fortunately, in the morning, Eskom teams managed to go through with the helicopter support, firefighter support, wind settling down. And, quite a few of the substations came back online. The pumps and the dams came back online, and water started coming through. But whilst that was happening, our water tanker was then filling the Jojo tanks on farmers' buckies so they could fight fire. And we provided fuel to them, to the existing water pumps, so they could provide water. So those are the main interventions. There haven't been any medical requirements. Nobody's burnt, nobody's injured. 5 houses have been damaged, as I told you. That's as far as Kucha. The biggest challenge now is in Dunoon, with 2,500 people displaced. They're going to need a lot of stuff. Blankets, mattresses, hygiene packs, bottled water, hot meals daily, nappies, diapers, and eventually they're going to need food parcels, uniforms, school shoes, and stationery. But schools are starting next week.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest challenge. In Ilam, there was mostly 500 old people in homes. They couldn't come out. It was too risky for smoke inhalation. So we physically, literally delivered items door to door in every single house in Ilam. And of course, we were involved in Mossel Bay also. And besides that, there's a water crisis in Knysna, in Ladysmith, in Zoa, and now in Plettenberg Bay. And we're involved in all those areas also.
And that was my final question to you, Dr. Sooliman, about the water crisis in such areas such as Knysna as well. The MEC for Local Government and Environmental Affairs in the Western Cape, Anton Bradal, also cautioned that Knysna and other areas are affected by a shortage of water. How does that affect your efforts as well?
Well, there's no fire there, fortunately. So, but there's a shortage of water. Knysna's got only 9 days of water left. We intervened again just before Christmas. And in Zoa, they have 11 boreholes, of which 6 are functional, 5 were shut down. The municipality said they'll take care of 2. We took care of 3, and we got them fully functional at 4 o'clock on the 24th of December, just before Christmas. Once the other 2 come on, Zoa and Ladysmith should be fine. Knysna's got a problem, so we're waiting for a full report which boreholes are non-functional. We've got our borehole teams ready. We did the same thing, upgraded the boreholes in Ladysmith, in Zoa. We will do the same things in Knysna, go for the low-hanging fruit, open boreholes that have been closed, shut, not working, need maintenance, and provide water from there. Of course, the residents have to save water. We need water to come into the dam. And Plettenberg Bay has got a similar problem, but this happened yesterday, and we were caught up with the fires, over the last 2 days. We'll see what we can do for them. Bottled water, we've bought large quantities of that. And of course, bring in more water tankers to assist in the area. But it needs a collaborative effort to save water, to make boreholes functional, and for everybody to share.
Dr. Sooliman, incredible work from Gift of the Givers as always, and thank you so much for joining us. All the best to your teams as well who are on the ground.